Center.
This is the biggest problem I have.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. It is 10:30 and we are getting started because we love to start on time. First, I'd like to see if Bob is in the audience. Bob won the drawing for the HEB gift card. Is Bob here? He need not be present to win. So no boos or hisses. We're still gonna mail it to him, but I thought if he was here, we could do that. Good morning. My name is Cindy Cummings. I'm one of the founders of LT Senior Services. We are a nonprofit and our goal is to help older adults in the Lake Travis School District. We're super excited about today's seminar. It's something we've been talking about doing for years and years and years, and that's emergency preparedness. I know that we're pretty excited right now that we have not had an emergency, really. I mean, like a big emergency. She's over here, she's saying, yes, there's been emergencies, but nothing big like we've seen in the past February. So we're almost through February. So maybe we're gonna make it this time. Pretty excited about that. LT Senior Services is a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. We have members and we have members that are nonprofits and we have members that are for-profit. We're gonna have our members come up and just introduce themselves real quick. So all the members come on up front and we're gonna hand them a mic while they're walking up here. I'm just going to mention that my name is Cindy Cummings and I am a local realtor. And you're thinking, why are you involved in things like this? Just like the other members want to help our community and it's one way that we can give back. One of our big supporters is the library and Morgan is going to talk about the library.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I know most of you, great to see your faces. We just put out our March calendar of events, so I've seen some of y'all studying it already and highlighting. It just warms my heart. Thank you for doing that. I think I have two messages. Number one, if you get frustrated by your phone or your iPad or technology, please think of us. Monday through Thursday, 12 until 2, drop in and get help one-on-one with the volunteer tech coach. So that we also have other tech services, a Wednesday, 10:30 in the morning, a Zoom class every single week, but please think of us if and when you have tech problems. Number two, do you know someone who is homebound, they can't leave their house because of a medical reason? We will deliver books and movies to them once a month, drop off a bag, find out what they want. Next month, drop off a different item. So they're not always in this room and don't know about this service. So we need your help to spread the word to your friends and neighbors and the community. So those are my plugs for the morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Hey, Whitney.
I'm frustrated by my technology.
I know.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Whitney Myers, and I am a personal historian specializing in legacy and tribute films. My business is called Sacred Stories. And so families or individuals hire us, Sacred Stories, to interview their loved ones or themselves, and we make a mini movie featuring the stories of life. I just interviewed my 92nd person last week. So had a little bit of experience sitting across from people and engaging with their life stories and creating beautiful films for families. A legacy film makes a wonderful birthday gift or a anniversary gift or retirement gift or a way to honor someone who's been important or impactful in your life, or perhaps yourself if you're a person who has tried to write your life stories and realize that that's something you don't have time to do. So I'm Whitney Myers, Sacred Stories. Thank you. Thank you.
And I see Whitney's got some brochures. Just to remind y'all, we have brochures in the back for our different members. So please look back there. Our newest member.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Calvin. I run a service called OB Helpers. We help individuals who have a spare bedroom exchange it for in-home assistance and companionship. So it's about 10 hours of assistance a week. We place a housemate with you, provides that assistance in exchange for living with you, helpful for companionship, a watchful eye in the household for fall risks and different safety aspects, and then that assistance so you don't have to pay out of pocket. We'll also leave some flyers at the back. But yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Schiller. Thank you for having me up here. I am a board certified financial planner. I live right over here in Lakeway with my 2 children right here in Rough Hollow. And I've been in financial services almost 20 years. And what I do, my profession is I help people in transition answer their lives' important financial questions. Do I have enough to retire? Am I giving my giving away enough? Do my children need to sit down with a financial planner? That's where I come in. And so, please come up to me after if these questions are on the front of your mind. But also I've got these great chip clips. I've got a giant plastic bag back there, so please help me out in grabbing as many of them as you would like. Again, it's Scott, and pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so LT Senior Services, we do lots of different things. We try to educate and inform, and we do that through our seminars that we do. In March, our seminar is going to be the Blue Zone, Living to 100. And Dr. Mark Carlson is going to be here. He's always a fabulous speaker. And I always learn something. I don't always want to do what he says, but I know I should. But please come, he's fabulous. He's also going to talk a little bit about dementia. We also have our Shred Day coming up on 3/16. We do that over by Lakeway Aquatic Center. Lakeway Aquatic Center is one of our members, and it's a great way for you to get rid of your shredding. We ask for donations, but it's a lot cheaper than going someplace and paying for shredding. Next, we have our Senior Living Community Bus Tour. We are full. We have a wait list. What that's telling us is maybe we might try to do it a second time this year. So if you're on the wait list, don't be discouraged. There could be a possibility that we do it again. What's great is we get to go to these senior living communities. We have breakfast and lunch, and they spoil us. But it's a very fun, laid back way for us to visit senior living communities without feeling that pressure. So super fun. We're all going to go in buses. It's going to be great. And there's more, but we shall begin our seminar for today. So today we're going to be talking about emergency preparedness. It is a topic that we've been wanting to talk about for a long time because older adults were really impacted in previous emergencies that we had. And we knew that we needed to help our older adults in Lake Travis area prepare. So we applied for a grant. We received a grant from HEB, and that has helped us to seed our first 20 bags. So we're going to be giving out to everybody who's attending today that signed in, that has a little star by their name, an emergency kit. The emergency kits, we're going to talk a little bit more about what the contents are, but they cost about $75 each one, so they're not cheap. But we want everybody to have one. Our goal is to distribute 200 kits by the end of the year. To do that, we're going to have additional funding. If you know anybody who wants to give money for emergency kits, let us know and we'll go meet with them. Without further ado, though, we have a wonderful speaker today. Waheeda received her bachelor's degree in psychology from University of California, Irvine. And after graduating, she worked as a see if I can speak well here. She worked with at-risk youth as a unit director for Boys and Girls Club. And then she started her career in health and safety. Her passion for emergency management began when she began Floor's initial disaster preparedness program for the Southern California Region 5 offices. With her passion and serving people in mind, she received her master's degree in emergency and disaster management from Georgetown University in 2018. Her background consists of community relations and HSE for Floor Corporation, project management in the oil and gas industry for Chevron, and Phillips 66 in emergency management. Her most recent role served as emergency management coordinator for the University of Texas at UT. In that role, she collaborated with local and regional partners, serving in planning roles in Emergency Operations Center during how do you say that? Activation. Okay. And stood, normally I can't pronounce names, so anyway, and stood as UT's lead in a joint full-scale exercise with local, state, and federal partners in May of 2022. She hopes to continue her journey in emergency management by conveying her knowledge and planning experience to the city of Lakeway, Bee Cave, and the Hills. She has received many awards: Excellence in Disaster Preparedness Program, Exceptional Performance. She was born in Afghanistan and is bilingual in Farsi. And she's an active community member of the Afghan Refugee Task Force and assisting the resettlement of Afghan nationals in the Los Angeles, Orange County area. In addition, she is community liaison for the International Association of Emergency Managers, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. In December 2023, she received her Certified Emergency Management designation by the International Association of Emergency Managers. Do you think that she has the credentials to talk to us here? We are so honored that you are here and we can't wait to hear about all the things that she's done so far for our local Lake Travis cities. And without further ado, here you go.
Right, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna stand where I was told to stand. So, well, with that though, I'm gonna.
Just gotta get her
One
clicker. I'll get all the papers, grab that, and tell us what to do with this.
All right, let's have the fun begin. So my name is Waheeda, and I'm gonna say this because I jokingly, most people don't remember it, but just think of fajita and it's Waheeda. Okay, it's the best way I can describe that. So I am your emergency management coordinator, for the three cities. I represent BK, Lakeway, and Village of the Hills. I also partner very well, and I'm very close to Lake Travis Fire Rescue. Lake Travis Fire Rescue also oversees, my three jurisdictions, so we work very closely together. But that is my role. I'm gonna kind of make this as interactive as I possibly can for everybody. But does anybody know what emergency management is? Okay, show of hands, how many of you feel like 5 years ago, you probably did not need an emergency manager? And show of hands, how many feel like you probably need one today? Okay, I'm very glad that I went to Georgetown and got my degree. And a funny story about that is, I was working at Phillips 66 in the Bay Area, and I had just graduated my master's in emergency disaster management. And my supervisor at the time was like, Rita, what are you gonna do with that? Like, I don't understand, like, we don't really need much, you know? So it was a lot of people in the background thinking like, what is emergency management? Then they had no clue, and no joke, about 6 months later, as soon as I decided to invest in myself in emergency management, COVID happened. And fortunately for me, it's job security, but it really brought in the arena of emergency management to everybody. I know everybody's very used to law enforcement and EMS and fire. So what I'm gonna talk about is really how emergency management plays a crucial role with those three entities. So, and then I'm gonna talk about, so we know, I'm gonna go over emergency management, I'm gonna go over 12 ways of preparedness, and then I wanna talk about Storm Mara and what happened last year. And I wanna let you know how operations took place. And so kind of give you an understanding of how it's crucial for my position in the sense of making sure that there's collaboration, there's communication, and then we're actually making sure that response and recovery is done to the best of our abilities. And that really can't be done unless you have all jurisdictions working with each other. And that is my goal. Oh, go back. So emergency cycle, you have prevention, which is also with mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Now, I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit with my situation here. I can prepare as much as I can, but there's so much to prepare for. When we have events going on, for example, in Lakeway, Bee Cave, and the Hills, or anywhere really in the state of Texas, you can prepare for, let's say, extravaganza that we do, 4th of July. And it's great that,
Speak up a little bit.
sure,
Yeah.
better?
Like a rock star.
I really have to put this thing,
Yes,
right?
you do. We'll wipe it off.
Okay, sorry. So going back, we have extravaganza, you have 4th of July, lights on. Bee Cave has their Bee in the Beast event they had over the summer. All those events, it's not just about putting together food trucks and having the vendors there and making sure there's communication between those who are actually running the event, but I have to think about every single scenario. I have to think about an active shooter. I have to make sure there's transportation for EMS, to make sure there's enough for traffic control. I have to make sure that evacuation routes are open for everybody, making sure we have EMS coming through, making sure our law enforcement is able to get through certain people. There's a lot that goes into preparedness. Next, you have response. Now, what happens with response is, and I'll talk about this during Storm Mara, you have the initial response, which I activated our Emergency Operations Center, and we were activated for that whole week during Storm Mara. What a lot of people don't understand afterwards is once you have response, recovery is also starting at that same time. And many people, after Storm Mara, they went right back to work the next day, or let's say probably a week later, on February 6th. However, our recovery efforts for Storm Mara did not finish as far as debris removal and management until July 19th. That is crucial for everybody to understand, not just for myself as an emergency manager, but your public works department, your parks and rec. You have so many different entities out there that are on a daily basis still working with the contractors, trying to make sure that recovery is going back to, again, making sure we're mitigating it for the next time. So I hope that kind of gives you a small overview of the emergency management cycle. What is emergency management? I talked about this briefly: coordination of emergency response, resource management, community education and outreach. So starting with this, coordination of emergency response. Storm Mara occurred, say January 30th, I would like to say that date. That morning, I activated our Emergency Operations Center, which was a virtual Emergency Operations Center. Typically, my role is very unique for everybody who's here. An emergency manager has one city. I have three. With that, my first call, I had 13 attendees for that first initial EOC virtual call, which included our 3 mayors, 3 city managers, and leadership. By the second call that afternoon, I had 33 members on that emergency operation call. That also was part of, you had our mayors, city managers, leadership for all 3 cities, Lake Travis Fire Rescue, all our water districts. We also had our commissioners on the call. We had TxDOT on the call. We had Austin Energy, EEC. You're talking every single jurisdiction entity that's gonna have some input and some response initiatives for us. Now, that's my role. I talked about earlier with law enforcement, EMS, and fire, our fire services. My responsibility and my goal really is to get everybody in a room, virtually or actually in our EOC, and figure out ways, how are we gonna respond to this, and how are we gonna do this in the most efficient way possible. Resource management, again, goes back to what can each entity provide? Public Works, what do you have for me? How many forklifts do you have? You know, those are the things that I have to think about. Fire, what can you provide? Lakeway Mud, for example, we have solar eclipse coming up in April that I'm preparing for, and our jurisdictions are gonna be impacted very heavily for that. I'm speaking to Lakeway Mud because I know they have a fuel station. What's my goal? My biggest concern for that event is really not having enough fuel. We're gonna have a lot of people coming through here. And the last thing I want is our law enforcement and EMS not to have any fuel for their vehicles in making sure that they're responding to all of you and anybody that needs to be. So I'm working with Lakeway Mud in the sense of, hey, let's put another diesel tank there. Those are things I have to think about. Those are things I want to think about, and those are things how I'm preparing for us, for the community. So resource management is huge. I pretty much on every single call, for example, tomorrow I have my first pre-planning meeting with all my law enforcement and EMS and fire folks tomorrow. And that's also gonna consider, that's Lakeway PD, BKPD, our Travis County Sheriff's Office, Lake Travis Fire Rescue, our Public Works, and the biggest that many of you may know is our communications directors. Our communications directors are vital. When we're in the EOC and we're sitting there and we're talking about how we're responding, what needs to go out to the public. Very fortunate, very fortunate and blessed that I have 3 amazing communication directors within BK, Lakeway, and Lake Travis Fire Rescue. And Water District 17 actually has a new communications director as well, which if I get a chance, we'll see her today and meet her. But this is vital for the EOC. What we talk about, how we address things, how we want you guys to see it. We don't want to scare all of you in putting out too much information, but we want to make sure the information we're putting out is being heard. Community education and outreach, really my role here. I've been doing this with Lakeway Bee Cave in the Hills, November of 2022. I have to think back. And I honestly have not had an opportunity to go out and actually speak to everybody and let them know what my role is, because I was busy with Stormara last year, and not only with Stormara, but trying to at least get the program going. This is a new program for the 3 cities. Again, EMCs have 1 city. For me, it's 3. And I'll talk about my role and how I fall into the whole structure in a bit. I discussed communication, information, dissemination. Again, that goes back to who's in the EOC, how our communication directors are actually providing that information for you. Those message boards you see on 620, that's things that I sit down and I go, okay, what's going on? We need to change the message boards. How do we relay the message as much as we can to the public? You know, we're trying to make sure that we can provide any means possible to help you guys and making sure you guys are safe. Collaboration with stakeholders. My role, other than having the 3 cities and my leadership and mayors and city managers, I also communicate and have relationships with county, state, and federal folks. That's my goal, because at the end of the day, when we need something, I have to make sure I ask for state resources. And if state can't help, I need to make sure that I can get that same information and same resources from the federal government. Development of emergency plans. Right now, I'm in the process of updating our emergency operations plan. I'm also in the process of working with some jurisdictions and getting an evacuation plan going for us. Not only am I trying to work with working with GIS, which we'll talk about later, and having some maps for everybody to understand the best routes to leave, but my goal is utilizing the marina. And actually, if we need to, for whatever reason, have to evacuate, you know, our citizens from here to get across, or let's say from Lago Vista, they need to come this way because, you know, again, it's the whole community approach. I do, again, work for Lakeway Bee Cave in the Hills, but as an emergency manager, I want to make sure that everybody is safe. Training and drills. We had our first training exercise in January on the 11th, and this was a Red Cross fundamentals training. This was within the 3 cities. Had about, I didn't promote it as much, but we had, I want to say 80 attendees, and that included, again, your mayors, city leadership, LTFR, Lakeway Mud was also involved. We had some volunteers that were also there. The goal for that, and I'll discuss it after in a little bit, is when Storm Mara happened, my emergency operations center typically is at Lakeway PD. At that time, we decided to do it virtually. But if I needed to actually have folks attend and be present at the EOC, I was not able to utilize the EOC as a warming center that we did. So during Storm Mara, we used the emergency operations center at that time / training room as we used it as a warming center. But again, the goal was to try to get another facility to help us out. So Lakewood Church is now actually a shelter and evacuation and a warming center for us. We had our first training in January, and the goal of that training was to get everybody together and understand what it actually takes to stand up a shelter. I discussed briefly about integration of technology, which is GIS. Huge, helps me with flooding, helps me understand what's going on overall, helps me actually put maps together and find evacuation routes for everybody. And then post-emergency recovery planning. Again, this goes back to assisting the community the best way possible. And policy advocacy and development. Staying informed, making sure what's going on within the county, I'm aware of, what's going on regionally, what's going on in the state, and what's going on federally. During Storm Mara, so state assistant request form. And it's a flow. So typically, as an example, during Storm Mara that week, I activated the EOC. The third day of the EOC, we had a boil water notice. And that impacted areas of Lakeway and areas of BK. My goal in the beginning is as far as resource request, I go to county first. I ask county, I go, this is what I need. Are you able to provide it? County's like, Waheeda, I don't have 20 pallets of water for you. The next is I put a star request in. And that's a state of Texas assistant request. And I put that in, and then the star comes through the state, and then they're able to actually deliver water for me. I put that request in that day. The water was, well, let's go back. County was able to provide some water, but I wanted to make sure within the 3 cities we had enough. So the following morning on Thursday, I put my star request in, and within 3 hours, because the warehouse is in San Antonio, they were able to bring me another 8 pallets. Again, those are requests that an EMC is able to do. At this time, once you have the star request in and you get resources, if you're not able to go from the local, for example, like I mentioned, county, then you're going to the disaster district, which is the state. And then from there, if it comes to the point where you need FEMA assistance, which we did, that's where you're going next. So Texas Emergency Management Council. Many of you may not know, but we have a state operations center. I am in constant communication with our state operations center. If there is a situation going on, whether it is within our 3 cities here, I'm in the calls. On a regular, I have state operation calls for weather briefings. Typically they take place at 10 o'clock in the morning. We talk about how the weather is going, what areas are being impacted, what I need to look out for, and then that information I provide to my leadership, and then also is being communicated to all of you from our communication directors. So again, in the State Operations Center, we have 31 state agencies. And there'll be a list in a minute for that. Now, going back, I'm the emergency management coordinator. During an emergency and during a disaster, the emergency management director is the mayor or the county judge. Which is why it's vital when I say in our state operations center, and why in our emergency operations center, why I have our mayors present, is because they're the ones that see day to day what's going on, and they can declare a disaster. They, from the form, which is a TDM 147 form, by state statute, I report to them. So day-to-day operations, I am, just so we all know, I am an employee of Lakeway. I have an interlocal agreement with Bee Cave and Village of the Hills. Day-to-day operations, I report to city managers. During an emergency, during a disaster, I report directly to the mayors. During Storm Mara, when I had the mayors in our Emergency Operations Center, you know, they were understanding and trying to figure out what the unmet needs were. And again, it comes back down to me. I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure out, what do we need? What roads do we need to go ahead and pre-treat? Do we need to get text dot out? Parks, how are you doing? What do you need help with? Law enforcement, do you have enough personnel? Do we need to get outside resources to come and assist? Those are things that's on my mind that's going on a regular. But again, having my mayors present is a huge benefit for me because they see it at a different level. Okay, so Tri-City Emergency Operation Partners. Here's your list. This is pretty much, give or take, I've added a couple more that's in the Emergency Operations Center. And that's just for our 3 cities. So you have the Tri-City Administration, which includes your mayors, mayor pro temp, your city management, and your Tri-City Department directors. You have your Public Works, your Parks and Rec, Parks and Facilities, your Lakeway Police Department, BK Police Department, our communications team. LTISD is huge because we follow what LTISD does. So for example, a couple weeks ago when we had the precipitation that occurred, I'm in constant communication with LTISD. Are you having school tomorrow? Because if they're not having school tomorrow, then that's how it affects our jurisdictions. With LTISD, I'm also part of their Safety and Security Committee, which is beneficial for me. It's great because I'm able to actually understand what's going on with them with their things throughout the year. As I mentioned, LTFR ESD 6, Pertinalis, ESD 8. Our public utilities, PEC, Austin Energy, Lakeway Mud, Water District 17, WTC UPA, which is down in BK. Our text dot area engineer is in our EOC calls. And then our weather guys and gals. So typically I start the EOC call with weather. I turn it over to the National Weather Service. They're on the call. They let me know, they let us know what's going on, how weather is being impacted for us and what to expect within the next couple hours, because that will help us figure out how do we respond. Public assistant categories. Let me talk about Storm Mara for a bit. So Storm Mara occurred, I was checking out the weather that weekend. Again, I mentioned Monday morning came, had the first call, about 13 individuals. By the second call, we had 33. And that was consistent. I slept in my cot in my office for the week. I've upgraded to a futon, so we know. And then our public works directors and team also was sleeping at the facility. Law enforcement, same thing. Fortunately for me, my office is in Lakeway PD. It's beneficial in many ways because dispatch is there. I'm in constant communication with dispatch. You know, Mayor Kilgore mentioned this last week in council that I averaged 3.5 minutes of sleep that week. Probably, it's true. But when I'm in my office, dispatch calls me and goes, Waheeda, this is what I got. You know, if I need more information, I'm able to go straight to dispatchers right there and say, what's going on? What are we looking at? How do I help? You know, what's unmet? What do I need to do? Do I need to call Public Works? Do I need to get text on out there? So very beneficial for me to be where I'm at as far as my location. And on top of that, Lakeway PD's dispatch also runs PKPD, which is again beneficial for me because I oversee BK as well. So during Storm Mara, we had first week was emergency protective measures. And I bring this up because this is the financial assistance that I was able to get us during for Storm Mara. We had a couple categories, category A, which was debris removal, category B, which was emergency protective measures. And then we also had category Z, which was administrative costs. Emergency protective measures was for that first week. What we did as far as our force account labor, within the cities. Debris removal was our contractors, how much debris we actually removed. Anybody want to estimate cost-wise between, for A and B, what that cost, Lakeway?
Off the chart. Huge.
So for debris removal for just Lakeway, and it's public record, so, for A and B, we're looking at 2.1 million. For BK, it was a little bit over 800,000. And Village of the Hills, was a little bit over 300,000. Now, again, this goes back to my role. We started Stormara, we did activations. And then I mentioned to you, after we did the whole response phase came recovery, even though you're doing recovery at the same time you're doing response. And then working on that until July 19th. But then after you're done with recovery, then comes, fortunately for us, we did have a disaster declaration. And that I was really just thankful for our mayors, because our mayors really pushed the envelope on getting a disaster declaration for the 3 cities. And once you get enough mayors, enough disaster declarations, it goes to our governor, which then is able to do a state declaration, which then goes to FEMA. But the public assistance, because of a disaster declaration, FEMA is doing a 75% cost share. I just finished up getting our 75% for Village of the Hills, which was over 200,000 for them in recovery. And I was able to get us about 630,000 for City of DeKalb. I'm finishing up right now. I just finished the FEMA obligation, but once you finish with FEMA, then you're going to the state. So FEMA, you go through the process of FEMA, provide them all the documentation they want, which was months. And once you provide a documentation and they have enough justification, because again, it's going to be audited. You have to make sure you're not going to go back and get audited for something that you may have, misled them on. I just finished FEMA, as I mentioned last week, got it obligated. So I'm hoping, and it's pretty much, it's at the state level now, is to get 1.4 million back for us for City of Lakeway. I wish I could say that it's an easy process. It's not, because, as an example for the emergency protective measures, I'll talk about that for a second. I provide them documentation and they're like, well, Waheeda, I don't understand. How can your law enforcement, like, you're putting in 20 hours for them for Tuesday or Wednesday? I go, well, they didn't sleep. I mean, I honestly did average maybe an hour of sleep that week. But, those are things I have to come back to them and actually provide documentation. And it even came to the point where I went to my dispatch team and I said, give me all the call logs. So those are things that, you need to be prepared for. But again, that's debris removal and emergency protective measures. Those are the 2 categories that we actually did apply for to get FEMA reimbursement. Okay, preparedness measures. Everybody signed up for Voyant Alert on here? Voyant Alert? Who's not signed up for Voyant? Or is not? Okay. So Voyant is, it's an alert and communication system that the 3 communication directors for Lakeway, BK, and Lake Travis Fire Rescue, we utilize in this area. It's in my packet, I put in there. And if you need help with that, just let me know, and I can help you guys with that. But definitely want to sign up for Voyant if you can. That's gonna be information that whatever is being discussed in the EOC, whatever is being discussed on a day-to-day basis. Again, as an example, Sunday noon, dispatch messaged me and said, Waheeda, Lomas Crossing, light is changing every 10 seconds. I'm like, okay. Is it really part of my job function? I'm at a higher level as far as emergency and disasters are concerned. However, this goes back to relationships and, building them. I have a really good relationship with TxDOT. I was able to call my area engineer and say, this is what's going on. Can you get me an ETA? So those things do matter. But again, I'm able to communicate that information to our communication directors, because then they're able to go and post that out for everybody here to understand, why is Lomas Crossing not working? Why do we have law enforcement out there directing traffic? So it's not just for emergencies and disasters. It really is just for day-to-day situations that also arise.
Is it on your phone or computer or both?
Both.
Okay. And once you sign up, you can get emails or you can get a notification on your phone.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Making a plan. Ready.gov has a really great form. And again, I put the links, and I know you probably can't see it, but I think Cindy, you may have posted it on the website as well.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on the last page, but once it's posted on the website, when you click on the link, it'll actually take you there, and you'll be able to actually do some of these on there. But make a plan. There's actually a list there. You go in, you fill it out. Literally, you fill it out. It asks you certain questions, who your emergency contact is. Medication. Do you have pets? Documentation, anything that you can think of is on this form. Once you fill it out, you can save it as a PDF and email it to somebody. Saving for a rainy day. Really don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So those are, again, there's tips on ready.gov for that. Practicing emergency drills. One of my biggest goals that I'd like to do, if it's not something I can get done this year, it's in my 5-year plan. Love to do an evacuation drill with the 3 cities, just to kind of understand what it's gonna look like for us. Testing the family communication plan. Show of hands, how many actually have a communication plan with their family if something were to arise? Any examples? How you're communicating with them? Are they within the city or are they outside the city? They're here, okay. So one advice I'd like to give as a suggestion is making sure that they're also outside the city. And I say that because if they're also impacted, you want to make sure that somebody, whether it's out of state, out of the county, knows that they're in, you all are safe. Safeguarding documents, making sure you have them in a waterproof case if you can, making sure they don't get wet. All the documentation you can possibly have, your passport, utility bills, insurance, again, contact numbers, goes back to medications, anything you're allergic to. And then planning with your neighbors. Somebody's out of town, you want to communicate that with them, let them know, I'm not sure, I grew up differently. I was, as mentioned by Cindy, I was born in Afghanistan, raised in California. But growing up in Orange County, I knew every single neighbor. That's just how we grew up. We knew every single person. If they saw an extra, and this is how it was, saw an extra vehicle in the driveway, it was like, oh, what's going on?
Waheeda, I see a lot of people writing. Let them know that we'll include this page in everybody who's come in an email, along with, include, make a plan and family communication plan. So y'all don't need to write everything down. We'll include it in the email back out to everybody who's attending. I mean, you can write it down, but. Well,
Cindy just said that she's gonna go ahead and provide that as information to everybody.
yes.
Make your home safe, or safer, I should say. If you have a question, you know, our fire department's here. You know, I know wildfire season last year was, it was hard on them. But if you want ways as far as knowing if your area is actually safe, they have no problem coming out and checking it out for you. Knowing your evacuation routes. How many have different routes when they leave and they come home too? Or does everybody just use the same exact route when they come through?
Can I say something?
Yes.
We live in Hudson Bend. Yeah, are you familiar with Hudson Bend?
Yes.
One road out, one road in. It's, you know, I know the WCID, the 17 is located right on the street next to down Eck Lane, and I was just wondering, is that area Hudson Bend, is that included in any of this?
It is because, again, Lake Travis Fire Rescue,
Yes, good.
although it's not part of my, you know, under Lakeway Beach Cave in the Hills, that evacuation plan we're working on is with Lake Travis Fire Rescue to make sure that not only are we assisting with Hudson Bend, Steiner Ranch, you know, there's other areas within this, I say West Travis County. So, but within our jurisdictions here, that we need to think ahead for.
Thank you.
And I was not here for the Steiner Ranch fire, but I know that was, you know, kind of where, although there was an evacuation plan, I know they have another one, and we're just now updating one, with Austin Travis County. But again, it's different for all our three, you know, our community here, West Travis County is different. You know, you have 620, you have 71. Which is why, again, I'm trying to pre-plan for the solar eclipse, because most of the people that are gonna be coming through are gonna be utilizing 620 and 71. Assembler update supplies. So with that, I'm gonna do a little activity with everybody. Hopefully, you'll still love me when I leave. So Karen's gonna pass out. I gave it to Karen.
Oh,
She's passing it.
okay, okay. We're testing you all. Are you ready for this? This way. And we ran out of things to write on, but are
the folders just to write on?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got one.
She just thought she had one.
Here you go, madam.
And the folders are just to have something to write on. We've ran out, so we don't have.
Okay, so I know most of you, when you came in, you're really eager to see me, which is why you came and sat down right away. But outside, there was a bunch of items on what to put in your to-go bag. So I'd like you all to list what you think was out there that should go in your to-go bag. And if you didn't get a chance to see what was out there, at least maybe come up with some ideas of what you think should be in your to-go bag. And then we'll just review it afterwards. I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that.
I'm rooted at regular. Hand lotion and water.
Don't be upset with me.
Thanks. So let me share that. My info with my first one. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Let's get.
Got both of you sitting. Listen to my friend, like being caved, but.
Now I do. That's such a good.
There's a prize.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go ahead. Emergency ready. That's a great. You can get these solar lights, you know, these solar lights. I like it. Well, yeah, they're more covered, but you charge them at bedtime, if you know. Oh, that reminds me. These little batteries, you can charge them at bedtime. But then when the electricity goes out, you need something to charge yourself up. What? Oh, yeah. One. Same. I don't think we can get that in our bag. Yeah. It's. Just like that. I don't know the rest of the. I don't know. Can't remember, but if you buy one of those solar lights. Solar light, I don't too much area.
So we're based on things that they're like too. They don't have. You just try to. What?
How are we doing?
Great.
Good? Okay. So,
We need a moving van.
Karen, you gonna check off for me? Okay. This is the fun part.
Okay, question for you. What about if we come up with something that we think is good?
Oh, well, first, my question is, who got more than 10? 15? 20? 19, okay.
More than 20.
More than 20, okay. Counting. Okay, so I have a list that was in the bag. 23. And then anything that's not in the bag, please let me know at the end and we can talk about it, because I'd love to know. Okay. So I'm gonna be Oprah.
Oprah, oh, Oprah.
I'm gonna be like, you get toilet paper, you get toilet paper, you all get toilet paper.
Look under your seat.
Okay, so TP. Paper towels.
You take them off the bag.
Yeah. But when you need them, you need them. And there's something else in there.
You need that?
This is for human waste
Yeah.
with a little time.
Anybody get that one? Okay.
Yeah, what do we call that? I wrote trash bags, is that, did you say trash bags, or you call them mini trash bags, or what?
They're like little trash bags for like doggy, but it's for human.
Okay.
Yeah.
Small bags with ties for human waste.
And where's that? Got it, okay.
I've never seen that.
Where do you find it?
Well, you know, like your little garbage can in your office?
Yeah.
It's those bags, but we're gonna give you a kit and it's gonna be in there, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Document.
Documents.
Yes.
And what goes inside? What goes inside the document? Oh.
Medications, contacts, emergency contact list. Even insurance.
Insurance cards.
Numbers of lots of things.
So,
Important stuff, critical stuff can be maybe not in your phone, but you can bundle them.
Good driver.
Get the little hand wrap. And towel.
What is that?
It's a hand towel.
From HEB, it's their character, it's so cute. Thank you, HEB.
What is it?
Well, it all fits in the little bag. Okay, so you got a mask and gloves.
Turn of COVID.
Nope. Hand warmers? Hand warmers. So this one's 10 hours of heat. Your toothpaste, your toothbrush, some hygiene. Wipes. Okay, what do we got here? Poncho. Poncho? Then you have some shampoo. Can opener.
Try to find those. I can appreciate that.
So this is a mini first aid kit. First aid kit? First aid kit? Utensil.
I know, exactly.
Try to make sure we put one that's sharpened, okay?
Those elves need to get busy later.
Okay, so your hand sanitizer. And then matches.
Yes, and, yeah.
Waheeda, your list says matches in a waterproof container.
Oops, we didn't buy those. They were a lot more money.
Oh, I just thought it might be worth
Yes,
mentioning.
yes, that would be preferred.
And then your body wash. Okay. Whistle. It's your, yeah, the warming blanket. Yeah.
What is it?
A warming blanket?
Is that what all the immigrants are being given when you see the silver?
Then a light stick? A light stick?
Like a glow
It's like a glow stick?
Amazon. HEB.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything, Cindy? Am I missing anything here?
The insulative bag.
And then
This bag is the,
insulation.
yeah, so this is an insulated bag from Harbor Terrace. So if you need to grab some food or put medicines in an insulative bag. Do we miss anything?
Yeah, they.
Well, the bag itself,
Yeah, there's a couple things that really stand out. We have a battery powered or hand carrying radio.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Somebody took it off our table.
Oh, really?
It's out there on the table.
And
yeah, because I saw that when I walked in.
So anyway, in all of your bags, what you're going to get is a hand cranked radio and a flashlight. Yes, but
Okay, then I typed that pretty much the best that were on the list.
Did you list it nice?
what was the other thing?
I came up with a bowl, the collapsible little bowls. I've been to emergency preparedness fairs. Water, cat food. That
Yes.
was one thing I never thought of cat food, but.
Well, the medications for your pet too.
And the Medicaid.
So we're working, we have a flyer that we're making, so we're gonna call this our go kit. So this will be like underneath your bed. And then you have like a prep kit when you hear that there's an emergency. And it includes things like dog food, medicine, like the stuff that you're not gonna put, like, perishable stuff.
It's more like a tote where you'll have like,
Yeah, so
Your
you're gonna have like
canned
two
food and-
things. This is like your, yes, Karen.
Something that might go onto your bed that went forever also is local maps.
yes.
So try to find local maps. Could somebody help me find some maps? You cannot find maps.
I looked for you online.
Did you what?
I looked for you online, but
know.
AAA sometimes has, but not always.
So the importance of a map is if our phone is not working and we need to get from hither to there just by streets like old time. So we cross that off and we hope to have that in future. And then also, this is like your big go kit. If you have a partner or somebody who lives with you, we're gonna make individual kits and bring them next month. And so if you have 2 people in your household, you can grab like an individual kit. So we'll have a warming, a poncho, a toothbrush, like all the individual stuff.
Oh, and I had one other idea, a battery, a backup battery, like,
Charger.
I don't think about doing that all the time.
Yes.
So a little
I put the
recharge
12
battery.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Battery is charged, or a charger.
Yeah.
And your phone.
If you're,
A what?
Because the phone is granted, sometimes you have to have some kind of protection.
That's on our wish list. We didn't get it in this.
Yeah, we're just talking for ourselves.
Yes, yes.
All your toiletries, you can use one kind of soap that you can use on your body, on your hair, and on the dishes and everything.
Great. Well, these bags are expensive. We got a grant from HEB of $1,500. And then many of our members, LTSS members contributed items for the bags. And we want to go get more funding, but any way we can reduce the cost would be, doing something like that would be fabulous.
There is a kind of soap, I can't think, I always use it with Nancy, and it's kind of peppermint, that's, Dr. Bonner's. Dr. Bonner's, you can use for teeth, you can use it for washing your face, you can wash your hair.
That's great.
So,
Thank you. And you guys, you can email us ideas. We're still working on flyers. But our intention is to give out 200 bags by the end of the year. You're our first 19. If you signed in and you got an asterisk by your name, you'll get a bag today. If you didn't get an asterisk by your name, then come next month and we'll have more bags. We're just gonna keep on giving them out.
where did we sign? We signed up.
I think you all missed getting the first 19. The guys here in the back, but it's okay. You'll get them next time. So.
Going,
Yeah.
signed up for today's class.
No, when you came in, the first 19 people who came in got an asterisk by their name. And they will get the first 19 bags, but trust me, we're gonna have bags. I'm gonna have so many bags, I'm begging you to take bags, because I want them out of my car and out of my house. So,
can I say, I used to live on the coast, in the
Yes.
Houston area. When you first, if you have a warning, put gas in your car right there. Make sure that you have a full tank of gas and a charger in your car,
yes,
so that if you do, the battery does go down in your phone, that you can plug it in while your car's running and charge your car.
I had this.
We got, when Katrina happened, I picked up my mother at noon and it took us,
hey guys, we have a question up here, if everybody could just listen to this comment, please.
When Katrina happened several years ago, I lived in Friendswood, which is a community off of I-45 going toward Galveston. We were supposed to leave on Wednesday at noon. We had times that we were supposed to evacuate. I picked up my mother at noon. We picked up, Wendy's happened to be still open, and we got hamburgers and got on the road. So from Wednesday noon, we arrived in Austin at 2 o'clock in the morning the next day. It took us, and it took my husband 3 days to get here from Houston. He sat on a freeway for, I think, almost 15, 16 hours with a pet. And you know, Houston is very hot. So, having a pet with you, he had to have water, he had to have food. And fortunately, we had packed, food, non-perishable food in both cars. And, if you have warning that something is going to happen, fill up your car with gas and make sure that you have gas. A lot of people sat on the side of the road for hours and maybe days with no fuel. And, you know, you gotta be prepared.
It did some, okay.
I noticed that many of the things that I had on my list, I actually have in my car.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I do have, you know, like blanket, more flashlights. I have, I need to put some PP in there, but I have the paper towels. And I was thinking, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a couple of flares in your car. Yeah, which I don't have, but there's mirror and extra head cover and extra umbrella and things like that that are just in the car.
I have one of those things too, that'll break the glass.
Yes,
And cut
yes,
the seatbelt.
yes, yeah. So anyway,
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments?
I was just gonna ask, you mentioned, that part of your 5-year plan is developing the evacuation plan or something like that? Does that involve residents of the community to participate in the evacuation plan? Or is that something just you're saying your office wants to design what that would look like? Or does that involve participation?
Anything that comes through my office, always participation with the community. Because I can't. The only way for me to know what you want is for me to know what you want. Very simple. And making sure that you're able to communicate that with me one way or the other, whether that's through email, calling me, texting me. So for example, we had the hazard mitigation plan that I worked on. It was supposed to be renewed. It's renewed every 5 years. And I renewed that for City of Lakeway and Village of the Hills, and I'm working on it for Bee Cave at the moment. But during that time, I actually had a workshop, a seminar, where it was at Lakeway PD, and I opened it up to the public to come and let me know what your thoughts are on that plan and what you feel might be some vulnerabilities we have within the communities. So I always try to open it up to the community as much as I can. The evacuation plan, Austin and Travis County is already working on that right now. They're updating the previous plan. However, my goal is to make sure that we also have one that's specific for our areas here. Because like I said, it's different being on 35 than it is being on 620. And the 5-year plan is also trying to do an exercise, an evacuation exercise.
I guess that's what I was referring to, yeah, how would that involve community members actually getting in your vehicles and
Yeah.
practicing?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had one last year, and it has actually taken place at, I think I'm saying this right, Comanche Trail? Thank you, okay. And I was invited to be a part of that from Travis County. So we did that. Commissioner Shea was there. We had LTFR there, we had law enforcement there, we had, Travis County Sheriff's Office. So we actually did a community evacuation plan with them. So they all, you were able to go in, actually ask if you wanted to partake in the exercise. And then at the time the exercise was gonna take place, you got a text message. And it was like, okay, leave. And you had a stopping point of where you were actually supposed to go. And we were trying to figure out how long it was gonna take for residents to go from where they are to this area. At the same time, what discrepancies was gonna happen and what issues may have occurred. So my goal within the next 5 years is to have the same thing with our 3 cities here. I hope that.
That answered it, thank you.
Okay, how do we feel about the kit?
Excellent.
Good ideas, yeah, that I.
Yes, excellent.
And I know the gentleman in the front, I know you also mentioned a knife, so.
Knife and spam.
Knife and spam.
Yeah, the can open.
Duct tape.
And, well, thank you for partaking in that. I hope I wasn't too much. And then, getting involved with the community, I know I mentioned that exercise. But, again, I developed, in Southern California, Fluor Corporation is an engineering procurement construction company. I did their first disaster preparedness program, and that included a triage team, security team, supply and logistics team, and a CERT team. The CERT team is a corporate emergency response team. Typically, that's what I did for Fluor, because we're a corporation, but it's really known for community emergency response team. I'm in the process of trying to do a CERT, but I may change the acronym a little bit for us, because I want to make sure I'm, again, bringing the whole community involved with the 3 cities. Okay. I'm just going to briefly talk about some preparedness measures that I've done for 2024 for this year. And this was things that I've been working on after Storm Mara and during Storm Mara, but in the phases of, okay, what areas could we actually be better at? What individuals do I need to bring more to the table? So we did have a Storm Mara after action review meeting with the Tri-City region that was done in March of last year. We all got together, we discussed our strengths and weaknesses, what areas we can improve on, what worked, what didn't.
Oh.
I worked with the 3 cities. We had a winter preparedness leadership meeting for all the 3 cities. I met with each city individually. And our LTFR team sat down, discussed it on what areas we need to, again, have in place for this year. Lakeway Church, as I mentioned, is set up now as a shelter warming center for the Travis County Tri-City area.
Will it be a shelter for in the summertime if we have extreme heat and no air conditioning or whatever?
Yes,
I mean, will it be at Lakewood Church?
yes.
I have to leave, I'm sorry. I think you're putting that, can I give it back or can my friends take it?
So I want to talk about the shelter for a second, just so we understand. There's a shelter and there's a warming center. When I opened up the EOC during Storm Mara, I did that as a warming center. So for folks to come, charge their batteries. And it's interesting because I know you guys had Storm Uri and I was not here for that. But when I brought up the fact during the EOC call, and I said, well, let's have a backup. Let's just make sure we have something as a warming center. And, my team was like, I don't think anyone's gonna come. I really don't think anyone's gonna come. People are gonna just go in their neighbors' homes or they're gonna go somewhere else. And I was like, I'm all about preparedness, and making sure I can provide the resources that I can. So we did, we opened up the EOC. We opened up the warming center. And a lot of people don't understand, in my mind, and I guess this is where psychology comes into play, is it's not just about a place where you need to go and be warm. You have folks that have been at a home for 3-4 days that are alone. They just want to talk to somebody. You know, that's where my mind is at. Trying to bring any sort of safe feeling or safeguard for them to feel like they can just leave, go somewhere, have a cup of coffee, talk to somebody for 10-15 minutes, feel like they're being heard. You know, that was my intention. And you know, for that week, 3-4 days, we had 140 people show up. May not seem a lot, but you know, to me, I felt like it brought the community together one way or the other. So, you know, the warming center shelter, it's also, you know, a unification place where, you know, for whatever reason, you know, I hope it does not happen. But if there is a need to where we need to reunify families with each other, we can utilize that place. So it's not just for a disaster occurring in regards to a wildfire or a storm, but also a place where, again, you know, this is 2024. Unfortunately, we do have events that occur that we don't want. But my goal is to make sure we have a place for children to meet up with their families if they need to, and vice versa. I mentioned the Red Cross training fundamentals. We had January 11th with Tri-City leadership. Fuel mitigation efforts, been working with our state fuel mitigation contractors to make sure that at least we're good in regards to the solar eclipse coming up. The Tri-City Emergency Operations Center, got that up and going on Teams now. Drone sense training with the Tri-City region. I'm actually going to have one in a couple months. And that'll be with, again, the different jurisdictions, bringing their drones and actually understanding, okay, what capabilities does each drone have? So that's one of my, because we use the drones a lot, just for all the events, and it's so beneficial. Because if I'm not able to be on scene, I can actually see it to see what's going on overall. Established contracts. One thing you guys may not know, but last year during Storm Mara, the hardest thing, we were fortunate, but the hardest thing that a lot of people faced, including ourselves, was trying to find contractors. We had our folks come from Houston, Louisiana, you know, just to do contract work because you couldn't find anybody in Texas. And our public works department and director, you know, again, the whole mitigation part and preparing for it, you know, as soon as we were going through, he was able to get one of the last grinders, you know, through Premier. And I know those are little things that people don't think about, but those are huge. LTISD Safety and Security Committee, I'm part of their committee now. Text out mitigation efforts, they're part of our EOC. And then Austin Energy, PEC, they're now on our calls on a regular. So a couple weeks ago when we had, like I mentioned, the precipitation that, you know, Austin Energy was in there, and so was PEC. We had some power outages that happened in Rough Hollow. Got the message that morning, was able to contact my EOC. You know, she was on the calls, let her know. She was able to give me updates on a regular on what was going on. So those are beneficial for me to have. I mentioned the Red Cross training again. We had that last month. This was our lovely team. So you can see we have our city managers for the 3 cities, Lake Travis Fire Rescue. Our mayors are in here. Anthony is great if you don't know him, but he's the project manager for Central American Red Cross. You have LTFR, PERT analysis in there, Lakeway PD, BK PD, our lovely pastor. And mentioned again, you know, we had a good, probably 75, 80 people who came. And this was just the first step. So, you know, the goal is to have more trainings, and then get the community involved.
Can I ask you a question, I'm sorry, just real quick? Is the Travis County Sheriff's Department involved with this thing?
With the, yes.
Okay, just didn't see their name up there, so I just.
So, Captain Samansky and I, have been in communication the past couple of weeks because, again, this goes back to solar eclipse. When I reached out to him, well, he reached out to me, you know, we were going back and forth, because Travis County is having their pre-planning meeting. And then, you know, they knew that I was trying to do one for our area here, West Travis County. So, he's in, like I mentioned, like he'll be there tomorrow with our pre-planning meeting. And, you know, to be honest, when you go to these events and somebody will come up to you and go, you know, Waheeda, maybe, I think it'd be beneficial if you had so-and-so there. You know, so it's every time I have an event or every time there's a meeting, every time something is occurring, we may not think about it, and then it's, oh, let me add them. And then this is just, some tips with Austin Energy. Just as far as emergency warnings, signing up, get prepared through readycentraltexas.org.
I'm not sent out your PowerPoint slides to everybody who's in attendance, so they don't have to write all this down. Okay, so you guys will get a copy of the slides and we'll send it out to y'all, so you don't need to write all this down. It'll be included in the email that we send. And guys, we are just right at noon. And so what I'd like to do is do a big round of applause for our speaker. And then we have a little bit of coordination to do here. So for people who have questions, if you want to stay and ask questions, I think you could probably stay for a couple minutes before it runs to our next meeting. And then for the people who are getting the bag, if you want to follow me out, we're just going to go to my car, and they're in the trunk because they're heavy and I didn't want to carry them all in. So just when you're done, just come on out and we'll go ahead and give you a bag. And again, I just want to thank HEB and all the donors who have helped with this first round of bags. So thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
Where did the folders go?